Hi, everyone. I wanted to welcome everyone quickly, and briefly, to this brief tutorial on ion task behavior observations. I'm Dr. Brian Shedley, and basically go on to the next slide to see how to do this sort of an observation. Thank you. This is Dr. Brian Shedley. And this is a short video on how to, well, of course, basically how to take, how to do an on-task behavior observation. Okay. Earlier on in the module, you did a naturalistic observation where the goal of the observation was to record everything that you observed, what you observed, not what you think, or interpreting what you observed, but everything that you observed. Okay. And so the goal is behind that is to get an idea of what it was like to be there in that environment at that particular time. Okay. The goal of this observation technique, though, is to quantify or gather data on the on-task behavior of a specific target student when compared with their same-aged peers. Okay. And notice this is a different method to use depending on how you define the problem of concern. Okay. So basically, during this observation, every 30 seconds, a target student is observed to whether or not they're on task, passive off task, motor off task, or verbal off task. Okay. And then every minute, the target student is, of course, observed and then a peer is observed to see what they're doing. So by the time you get to the end, you have a comparison of the target student compared to their peers. So for example, what I did here is I shrunk a part of the box, or one of the boxes, or part of the form that you're going to use to do the on-task behavior assignment. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to watch the video, and every 30, you're going to pick a target student in that video. And you're going to record whether or not you think that student is on task, which you can simply label as a T. Okay. And then at each minute, you're going to say whether or not that student is on task. Or if then the peer, you're going to see if they're either task or off task or passive off task. So if you were going to make them passive off task, then it would be a PT. Okay. So by the time you get to the end, you have an idea of what that student's task-like behavior is compared to their peers. Now each minute, you're going to pick a different peer. Okay. You're not going to use the same one. All right. So as you go along, you fill out the form. This just so happens to be about a 3-minute slice of that form that's in the module for you to download. Now, when you're done with that assignment, with that form, you're going to upload that form for me so that I can see that you've done the observation, okay? And thank you very much. I'm going to talk about something on how to compute these on the next slide. Previous slide, I talked about how to record your results, okay? So by the time you get to the end, what you're going to do is you are going to count the number of tasks T's that you have. And you can even just simply for this assignment, if you want, count everything else as off task, okay? So let's just say at first you're just going to look at the target student, okay? So everything else, the VTs, the MTs, and the other one, the passive off task, the verbal off task, and motor off task are just going to count as an off task, okay? So by the time you get to the end, let's say you did a 9-minute observation, okay? Every 30 seconds you did that, and then at the end of that, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to count the number of tasks. So let's say it was 5, and then you're going to divide that by the total number of intervals in a 9-minute period. So that would be 18. Okay, I think. Sounds about right. And that'll give you your task number, okay? And then you can go in there and count the number that were off task. So in this case, because we're dealing with 18, the number of off task would have to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then this will give you a percentage. So I don't know, let's see, 5 out of 18. 5 out of 20 would be 20%. So let's just say it's about 20% approximately, okay? And then that would make this 80%. This isn't right, but I'm just approximately doing this, okay? So that's how you would figure that out, all right? And then if you wanted to compare it to the peers, you would take the peers task and off task and all of that and compare it to the total number, okay? So that's pretty much how you would do that. Thank you very much. The review, I've had I just thought that it would be an interesting thing to do for this class to actually have people do some observation techniques, okay? And so I had you do a naturalistic observation technique, and I'm having you do an on-task behavior technique. These are all techniques that you can use in your classroom right now, okay? However, there are a number of different observational techniques that I would challenge you to look up depending on how you define your problem, okay, or problem of concern. That is so you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to gather data on? Is it a student's on-task behavior? Is it what that student is doing? Do I want to get a more of a general idea where I would do that naturalistic observation? Do I want to do what's called an ABC observation where I'm looking at what happens before a problem behavior and then happens after a problem behavior? Okay. So there's all different types of observational techniques, okay? You have to decide which observational technique is appropriate given your problem behavior. On-task behavior observations do not answer or are able to answer every question, okay? In summary, this observation method compares a target student with their peers. Usually these observations can take between 15 and 30 minutes. And then you basically, or you can, like I said, you can simply compare on task or off task if you really want to get that simplistic. This type of observation gets pretty complex in a hurry. So anyway, the purpose of this, I just wanted to give people an idea of what they were supposed to do for the assignment and give the rationale behind an on-task behavior observation. Thank you.